Hello class, Mr. Stemple here. Today we're going to continue our discussion of beams and then talk a little bit about how those beams become bridges. So let's start with today's objective. So today we're going to use software tools to compare different types of beams. You've done a lot of hand calculations already. You did a lot of work in the past 2 weeks about what beams look like and how they function differently and what the moment of inertia and all the other stuff is about those beams. And today you're going to use that stuff, do that stuff with software tools. It'll be much easier. So let's look at your assignments. For POE, I want you to build a box beam. And I have one here I'll show you once the screen clears out. Looks like this. Kind of looks like that as compared to my I-beam right here that I built a couple weeks ago. And I want you to calculate using software 3 different hollow rectangular beams, calculate moment of inertia of 3 different hollow rectangular beams and 3 different I-beams. And for IED, I want you to draw diagrams of those beams that you calculate using the software and include dimensions for each one of those beams. So a bit of a review. Beam types. We talked about hollow beams. Once again, they look like this. They're hollow in the middle. This name says that. We talked about solid beams, which are about the same size as the hollow beams, but they're solid, and I made that one as well. And then I-beams, which is one of the most common types of beams, which has a really good strength and doesn't take a lot of material. And then we talked a little bit about moment of inertia, and you ran through all these calculations. These are the same numbers that we looked at last week. So you've seen all these numbers before. These are the calculations that you should have in your notebook. We calculated moment of inertia for a solid beam as well as an I-beam. And then we talked about deflection. And we looked at deflection both for that same solid beam and that same I-beam. And we figured out that the solid block deflection was 0.071 inches, while the I-beam deflection was 0.02 or 0.29 inches, which seems like a lot more, but it cost almost 8 times as much to make that solid block as it does to make that I-beam, so it's worth allowing a little bit of extra deflection. Okay, so let's talk about the software that we're going to use. I'm going to introduce 2 new pieces of software today, and then we're going to talk third about the Bridge Designer, which you have all already used. So the first is MD Solids. You can download it from mdsolids.com. This will only work on a Windows machine. If you don't have Windows, if you're running an Apple machine of some sort, then MD Solids will not work. It's only good for Windows. But I'll show you how to use this in one of my software walkthroughs. The second piece of software is called SkySieve, and it is web-based software, so it'll work on pretty much anything. And you can use that to calculate moment of inertia as well. And then the third piece of software is Bridge Designer, which you have seen before. And you'll notice on this Bridge Designer, those of you that have used it, you can choose between hollow and solid beams, changing the price of your bridge and its structure. So I'm not going to go through all these software pieces in this video, but I'm putting up other videos where I will show exactly what I want you to do with MD Solids and SkyView. The Bridge Designer, I've already talked about that. There are some videos up on Canvas for that. I think it's redundant to go through that again. And I don't need a lot from you on Bridge Designer this week. We'll work on that again in the future. But MD Solids and SkyView, if you want to see how you can download and use those pieces of software, go back to Canvas. Those videos are there. Okay, so then we're talking about a build. I want you to, of course, build this box beam. So here's mine. It's a pretty easy build. And you'll notice when you build it that it's pretty structurally sound. Like I could span this and put some weight on it, and it would be pretty structurally sound. This is a solid beam. It's, of course, also very structurally sound. It's pretty solid. And the I-beam that is, of course, also very structurally sound. So I can put a lot of force on it, and it stays in place. Now, the I-beam uses a lot less material than this solid beam. The box beam uses only slightly more material than the I-beam. Right? Let's get this one extra vertical piece in the box beam. And those are pretty commonly used as well. Okay, now we get to the calculating. Again, I want you to calculate using the software, and I will show you how to do those in the next video. Up in the top right, that is the MD Solid software, and down in the bottom left, that's the SkySieve software, so that's what it'll look like. For your assignment, I want you to draw and calculate the moment of inertia for 3 different hollow rectangular beams and 3 different I-beams. And I've got some specific measurements that I want you to use for at least one of them. I want you to use the 15 and 30 inches that we used last week when we did I'll call those calculations by hand, so that you can see how close these get to what you were able to do by hand. So use the 15 inches for the base and the 30 inches for the height for both the rectangular hollow and the I-beam, just so you can see how the numbers work out. And then you can choose, I'm going to let you choose the other 2 dimensions for the sizes of the other 2 beams. That can be up to you, but I do want to see 3 different types of calculations from you for each of those beams. And your turn in for this week for POE is, I would like you to build this box beam and then use the software to calculate moment of inertia for 3 different hollow rectangular beams and 3 different I-beams. Once again, the dimensions on those, one of them should be 15 by 30 for each of them, and then the other dimensions I'll leave up to you. And to turn in for IED, I'd like the diagrams of those beams that you calculate using software, including dimensions for each beam and the moment of inertia. Just write that in your notebook. Once again, for turning this stuff in, you have some options. You can take pictures of it and post it up on Canvas, or you can just log into one of my conference calls and show me. Go like that. I'll count that as being turned in. Actually, it'll be this one because that's the box. Anyway, I hope you all are doing well. We've only got a couple weeks left of school. Please check your grades in Aspen. Please check your grades in Canvas. Please check it not only for my class, but for your other classes as well. I don't want anybody to get an incomplete this year because you don't want to have to deal with all that. So check your grades for 4th quarter. Teachers are grading things for 4th quarter. We are trying to update as quickly as we can or as often as we can. At least I am. I try to do my grades at least twice a week. So give me a call if you need me. Log into my conference calls, and hopefully you're all doing well. Thank you.